Hello, people of the internet, and welcome to the Procastinators podcast, Tea and Biscuits. It's me, Flynn, and I'm here with Axel.
Good evening.
Alex.
Good evening.
And John.
Good morning.
And we today are talking about Game of Thrones, and more specifically Season 7 and the finale, so warning, spoilers ahead. You have been warned. If you bitch about it, that's kind of your problem. So, a quick sum up of your opinion from the season as a whole, starting with Axel.
I enjoyed all of it. I don't think there was a bad moment for me that really stuck out. It just keeps getting better. I don't have anything else to say.
Awesome. Alex?
I don't know, this is a bit of a tricky one. I did think the series did have its major highlights. Like, the big highlight for me was the episode before the last one, where just everything just kicked off. That is probably my favourite part in the whole series we've had so far. Fantastic.
And John?
General consensus is it was a really, really good series. I think probably on a general level the best they put out. There were some bits where it was like, not necessarily sure on. I've got my opinions on things I think could have been better, but yeah, no, I really enjoyed the series, and if it keeps going at this rate, I'm pretty certain that the next series is going to be really, really good.
Fantastic. And I don't usually watch Game of Thrones. I joined in on it this year on, episode 3, when Alex and John were watching it. I was playing Crash, and I just paused Crash halfway through to watch Game of Thrones, because it just drew me in. There was some really tightly scripted scenes, some really nice, tense, dramatic scenes, and I don't know, you stick good actors in that with a high production value, I'm just going to get drawn in.
Oh, wow, that was the first time you watched?
No, it wasn't the first time I'd watched it. I've dipped in and out before, but Game of Thrones has never pulled me in for an entire season. I've never watched each episode. My usual habit was I'd watch the first episode, if I could be asked. Then I'd watch the second to last episode and the last episode. So we're going to talk about the sort of season as a whole, but we'll centre our talk around the finale, and from that link on to your other favourite points from the season or things we've gleaned this year that have made the series more interesting, because this is the first time we've been properly off the books, is it not?
Yeah,
this
novelised.
This was pretty much entirely done story-wise by the TV production company.
Wow.
George R.R. Martin was advising.
He did have an input.
Yeah.
He writes an episode a year still, I believe.
I don't even think he wrote one this year. I think he literally just advised. I don't believe he... Because he's having to focus on actually finishing a book, because the TV series that was inspired by his books is going to finish before his book series is.
Which is kind of ironic. But yeah, that's season 7, so it's sort of a landmark in Game of Thrones, and it's been bloody good. Before we go any further into the main crux of the episode, there's one thing I've forgotten to do. Axel, would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners, as you weren't in the last episode? We basically gave a quick sum up of who we are, where we come from, and what we do.
Axel, I'm a student doing my master's in education. Finished the course with these guys at Greenwich doing drama. I did English also. Shouldn't have. It was long, and yep. And what was the other requirement I had to add to this?
What do you do?
What do I do?
Other than being a student.
It's not exactly a job interview, really.
I just, the way it started, I felt like I had to come up with like a full, breaker of chains.
So there you go, guys. That's Axel. Prepare for the same level of brilliant content from him from here on out.
You're very welcome.
So, the finale of Season 7, what was it titled? Was it The Dragon and the...
wasn't it Union of Ice and Fire? Might be completely wrong.
I remember. I thought it was the Union of the Wolf and Dragon.
I thought it was Dragon and the Wolf.
That was
Dragon and the Wolf.
Dragon and the Wolf.
That was it.
So, the episode started off with everyone arriving at... It was King's Landing, wasn't it? It's always hard to tell with the different angles. Everyone arriving at King's Landing. So you had Tyrion and Jon and the armies of the North, and the armies of the Dothraki, and the slave people without
the Unsullied.
The Unsullies? Just thinking of Monsters Inc. now without Sully. It'd suck. So you had all these people arriving, and I mean, if you watched the episode, which you probably did if you're listening to this, you know all the people. I won't try and list them all off. What were the conversations and meetings you wanted to see this episode, that you wanted to see some, if not a resolution to some character storylines and interactions with each other, just something more to happen. John, let's start with you.
The one I was most excited to see was actually the meeting of Brienne and the Hound. Because the last time that they saw each other, Brienne basically kicked him down a very, very large hill. I dare say mountain, but that's a different interaction altogether. And they basically were fighting at that point over Arya Stark, where the Hound wanted to protect her, and so did Brienne, but that, for both of them, meant getting the other one of them out of the way. And at the end of it all, Arya just sort of fucks off, and was only just met up by Brienne in this series, and they have a short conversation about how she's doing, and they both seem rather proud about how dangerous she's become. And that's just kind of adorable, because they're sort of like a little bit like proud parents that do actually want to murder each other, and that's just quite nice to see on screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, John likes dysfunctional families. There we go. Representation for dysfunctional families on screen. Alex?
Mine was also the Hound, but it was with his brother, the Mountain, because they hadn't seen each other since season 1, I think, when they had a little fight against each other in front of Robert Baratheon. And then after that, they were always almost like polar opposites, because you had Sir Gregor, and he was always working for like Tywin. And then you had Sandor, who was almost going away and protecting one of the Starks. So they were always on opposites, and it was just bringing them back in together. That's what I really want to see, and how that connection was. But now, obviously, you see the Mountain, he's just like completely zombified now and everything. So I was a little bit disappointed when that came to it, just because of that happened. It kind of really...
It was a meeting I wanted to see as well, and I do have to say that it felt a bit empty. And that's partially because of the reanimated nature of the Mountain, but the Hound's reaction to that felt a bit muted as well.
Yeah.
And in an episode that did not have much action, that was kind of a point where I really wanted to see just something small, just one punch being thrown somewhere.
Or just a little bit of like pent-up aggression or something, just something a bit more emotional, because at the minute it was very like
Hound seemed to shrug it off.
Yes, it was very, just because he just stared deadly into him, and that's because he's technically, I think he's dead, isn't he? Technically, but I mean, I still did enjoy it, but it just I still enjoyed the episode, but that part I've been waiting for since season 1.
Maybe he'd finally learned at this point that he really shouldn't just sort of stir shit after what happened in the episode before.
Yeah.
Perhaps. And Axsle?
The meeting I was looking forward to was between Cersei and Daenerys.
Obvious
reasons. They've heard so much about each other, like they know each other's strengths and like their artillery and whatnot. So they're expecting like something really
It's kind of
big.
weird that this is the first time they've met.
Yeah, after so long, after like taking like stabs at each other on the fly and that and whatever. But when they met and like Cersei saw the dragon for the first time, her reaction was like, "Oh wow, it's a dragon!" But it wasn't anything that.
It was another meeting that felt a bit. It was a bit underwhelming.
Yeah.
You wanted a bit more fire coming off each of them.
And even whilst they were there, it's like who was trying to be the most civil in the meeting. Like there was no attack from either of them. It was very calm and...
Which with Cersei trying to mimic her father. I mean, when Charles Dance was in it, if he wanted to insult someone, civility went out the window pretty quickly. There were several moments that did feel a bit muted. I was going to say the Hound on the Mountain, because it was one I was looking forward to. Yeah, I guess the Cersei-Daenerys meeting, and with Jon there as well. It felt like, okay, that's a great place to come to before we launch into the last season. But it was all very passive-aggressive. And for a show which is known for slicing people open, I wasn't expecting that.
No.
But I was expecting more teeth to be bared.
Another one was probably Tyrion and Cersei. Just because the last time, he killed his father and her father. And that's when they went alone to have a meeting together. Like, Tyrion went off to talk to Cersei. That, I will admit, my heart skipped a beat.
Well, I was going to get to that, but let's just get to it. The Tyrion and Cersei meeting. Axsle wasn't here. Me, Alex, and John watched it as it came out live. And when Tyrion went on his little way to see Cersei, we were screaming out. We were reaching out. We were like, no, you can't do this. Because it would have made sense as well that if Tyrion's going to die, it would be right here. Because it's the last season finale that acts as a marketing tool for the next season.
Mhm.
So a part of me was like, I will accept it, but oh God, please no. And he
I
got
think-
very close to being killed.
He was.
He was even sort of egging her on. And
Mhm.
we were all just sat there on the edge of our seats thinking, she's just gonna straight up murder him. And
Right, controversial question, but I'm going to throw this out there, yes or no, and that's all you can answer. In that moment, did a little bit of you want Cersei to kill him? Alex?
No, not at all.
John?
yes.
Axel?
No way.
I'm going to have to say yes a little. I'm going to have to say I was so expectant of it as Cersei's last act to set her up as the villain.
Mhm.
She'd walked away from a meeting to unify everyone to take out the White Walkers. I'll get to that in a minute. For her to kill Tyrion at that point would have just made her the ultimate bitch queen. And yes, it leaves some more sort of difficulty hating her character entirely, but I wasn't quite sure why she spared his life either.
Well, for one, Daenerys would have gone for war over it. Gone to war, rather.
Probably.
Yeah, he was the hand.
But
Yeah,
Cersei wants war. Like Cersei's been pretty clear on.
No,
But-
well, it was specified in the episode before that out on the Council of Jaime, she knows that she can't fight the dragons. She actually wants this truce. She wants to the period of time in order for, as we find out later, Euron to go off and get the Golden Company. She needs the time. She needs whatever time she can buy, and killing Tyrion then and there, with the dragons quite literally in King's Landing at that point, wouldn't have gone well for her, and that is, I think, why she couldn't kill him.
It wasn't made very clear though. It felt more like a moment of empathy.
I do have another reason behind that,
Go on.
which is Cersei's orders to the Mountain were, if she is killed, to kill the Silverhead bitch, her brother, and then the man that calls himself the King in the North, in that order. But that was only if she was taken out. She's historically shown that anybody that she wants dead, she wants to torture them to do it.
True.
So she, again, I think at that point as well, if she just executed Tyrion, she wouldn't have gotten the death room she wanted for him. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe
It seems to make sense for her character.
it was an odd character moment, I have to say. It followed up by some wonderful moments for Tyrion where he hands her a glass of wine, which he doesn't drink, which tells him Cersei's pregnant, in case you forgot. But it had some wonderful dialogue in it. But here's my sort of thing. This episode of Game of Thrones felt almost hindered by not being able to screw too much stuff up before the next season.
I had the exact same thought.
It was like it was hamstringed.
Hmm.
And it was hobbling along through these epic meetings, but no one can kill anyone, no one can do anything like that. Like, to continue on Cersei and meetings, a very, very similar scene later on, mirroring it almost exactly in a way that felt like foreshadowing, where Jaime and Cersei spoke at the end. I'm going to be honest, Cersei's whole, oh yeah, I'll join you again in the fight against the White Walkers. Lol, Jaime, I was lying. Actually, I had a secret plan all along. Felt like bullshit. Like, okay, it makes sense for her character, but maybe reveal that later on. Maybe hold off on it.
Or, if you're going to do it at that moment, at least make it so that you drop a few more hints going up to it, so it just seems to make sense in that moment, because it just seemed to come a little bit out of left field. And for an episode that seemed to be moving most of its plot points on things you've seen bits of before, that seemed a little out of place.
Yeah, it popped up out of nowhere, and it felt like Cersei announced she was going to help, and then the very next scene she's in, she's not going to help.
You expected it, though.
You expected it, but I'd have liked to have seen it played out more. The whole fact that her entire decision is, no, I'm not sending any armies at all, means that at the start of next season, we are going to be straight back to the point of the White Walkers are coming, and Daenerys and Jon Snow need to convince Cersei that she needs to join the fight, or they're all going to die. It's the exact same setup we've been in for the past couple of episodes, which has provided us some excellent storytelling, but
it's pushed a bit of a hard reset on the state of things.
Yeah, we haven't moved much. But in the meeting with Cersei and Jaime towards the end, where she's like, I lied, there's the very similar bit with Tyrion where Jaime's saying, go on, order the mountain to kill me. And Cersei, once again, very nearly does and doesn't.
She nods. And she even nods.
Well,
but
yeah,
doesn't
she even nodded. And the mountain still stood aside. It didn't make sense. And you've already had this moment of, is she being empathetic because she's pregnant, which the Tyrion scene hints at. So if there was something there about him being the father of her child and you see a softer side to Cersei for a second, that would have been nice and made sense. But it felt like her character, as we saw her in that episode, Jaime betraying her, she's got no reason not to kill him.
Love.
But then even saying that, what she
But
doesn't
you didn't
do,
see the love. It was this unspoken thing of, you've seen it in the past, but that scene as a whole didn't add up.
from both of the scenes, what she didn't do, she didn't kill either of them, which says a lot. Like the allegiance between what are they called again, the family?
The
The Lannisters, completely forgot. Is obviously still there. Do you know what I mean? Even from a brother that betrayed her, two brothers that betrayed her, she still like has some sort of love for him. Do you know what I mean? Some sort of...
Yeah, but with Jaime, like, Jaime's left her, and he could pose a real strategic threat. Jaime is her closest confidant, knows her every weakness, knows the movements of her armies, knows the numbers of them inside and out.
Knows every one of the commanders.
If he
of her
chats to
armies.
Daenerys, like, she don't even need dragons, but she'll have them, and she could wipe out Cersei's entire army in a week. Like, here's the thing, if we'd seen more moments of Cersei being a bit more empathetic, maybe because of a pregnancy, maybe she's having doubts, in the build-up to this, fine. But Cersei this season has been cold, hard ice bitch, which I love.
I thought I would have seen more empathy from Jaime, to be honest, in that last bit. Just because he's always been there for his family. Like, he's always loved his children. I mean, he went off to go get his daughter back and everything. And he's always been close to it. I know Joffrey was a bit of a bastard, probably everyone wanted him dead. And then you had Tommen, who he loved because he was his son. But then, just that scene he had with his daughter, you realise, like, how much he actually loves his family. And for him to, like, abandon almost his unborn child, I didn't know if that was like in him. I didn't know if that was like
abandon as well as winter comes.
Yeah, I don't know if that. I didn't know how I felt about that. That was
part of me, and I feel John's going to say something very similar. Feels it might be because he's uncertain on another child of Cersei's, which is kind of what I feel would make sense for him at this point. Of he's looking at it and going, "This is going to be another Joffrey. This is going to be a child raised by Cersei at her most powerful and downright evil in some places, with his grandpa instead being that evil black wizard guy." I don't know, that's why I feel he might have these sort of motivations, John.
My other thought on his motivations for this is he has seen the white that they brought back. He has seen that is one of part of the army, and he's seen that, well, fuck. If I don't go and try and fight this army, then it doesn't matter if I've got a kid on the way. The kid won't make it because we'll all be dead.
So, yeah, I think that takes us quite nicely onto the White Walker reveal in the meeting, which was the most action-packed bit. I've got to say, I loved the Hound carrying him up on his head. Just, oh my god, what a man. What a man. I mean, he dumps him down, and a really slow reveal as he opens it. Is it dead? He kicks over the bucket, and out it comes, White Walker. On a leash, that was very, very, very just handily the right length to keep it away from Cersei, who the White Walker very handily ran to first instead of one of the other closer people it was actually in range of. Okay, I know we let Game of Thrones off with a lot of shit. Where did the Night King get those chains from to pull the dragon out of the fucking ice? Who knows? But that one was so convenient. It was a great episode, but it was just one of those, filmmaking, storytelling.
Which is also that weird bit as to why the White Walker was so quiet that entire time, when earlier in the episode we saw him get kicked a tiny bit and went, bloody nuts. He just got carried up a set of stairs. Why isn't he going fucking
I
mad?
was rocking him to sleep as he was going on.
Rockabye walker, right on my back.
So I have my thoughts on this particular scene and its outcomes. What are your guys? Chime in.
Qyburn is a very macabre motherfucker.
Oh my god, he is. He's
He
so
just-
like, ooh, skeleton.
This hand is moving by itself, not connected to anything. How can I use this?
And he doesn't even flinch for a second. That's this rotting, horrible flesh. And then it's just a bone chopped off. He just picks it and just casual.
I'm pretty certain he's made the Hound's list, because the Hound's just looked at him and be like, you were the one that brought him back. Because who else at this point? He just sort of reveals
I would
himself.
love to see a fight between the Hound and a dark magician. That sounds sick. Sorry, Alex.
He's probably looking at the hand and wondering, I wonder how I can attach this to the mountain.
We can rebuild him.
We can
We
rebuild.
have the technology.
We can rebuild.
Third arm.
Where do I put it? Questions for later.
Axel, anything on the White Walker reveal scene, and particularly its ramifications, because
I guess the magician doctor guy picking up the hand, I didn't like.
you didn't.
No, I'm glad John took it away from him at that moment.
Yeah, it was like
I
don't.
had visions of Cersei and the White Walker King just standing hand
Oh.
in hand, and they just
God, it's like Theresa May and Trump hand in hand. Oh, God, that's a terrifying thought.
Oh, can you imagine Theresa May with dragons?
No.
No, that's a terrible
No,
idea.
I can't. No, she's just too bland.
She is.
A dragon running through the fields of wheat. Oh, it's 3 months old, but it's still funny.
How long until those wheat fields are on fire?
Right, moving on. So, okay, my bit with the White Walker thing is Cersei's whole... I'm back to Cersei. The point where she was like, when I looked down that White Walker's throat, I just saw everything that was close to me being in danger. But she doesn't move to protect herself from that danger. She, my problem is she doesn't seem to realise the scope of how not okay this is.
Well, the mountain did move in front of her for that scene, so maybe she.
And
So
did he?
Yeah, he did. He moved it. He moved it a bit in front of her, and he had his.
He was a
sword.
bit late.
He was a little bit late, but maybe.
I mean, nerve damage.
Dramatic tension
Yeah.
late.
She also did immediately move back in her chair as if to try and get away from it, as you'd expect. But she also chose to bring that stupid high platform thing to be above everybody in a really big chair. So getting anywhere was a bit difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was that odd thing of then her later decision not to help out at all, or seemingly prepare for the White Walkers. And the Golden Company isn't going to protect you against these things.
To put it in perspective, the Golden Company is 20,000 men.
Yeah.
They state this.
Yeah.
And at the meeting, the Daenerys states that the White Walker army is at least 100,000 strong.
Yeah, and you can only kill them with certain things. That was a plot point that reared its head and then disappeared very quickly. Jon Snow gives his shopping channel guide to a White Walker, which had to be my favourite goddamn bit when he comes forward and goes, "This is a White Walker, that. Right, you can stab it with this, and you can stab it with that." Lovely. And it just went very shopping channel. It was a bit weird. But he very specifically mentioned the materials required to kill.
Mm-hmm.
And at no point did they have a discussion about how the fuck do we get these materials.
Well, there's also the bit of he also skips out on a section, which is fairly important as well.
Yeah, which makes me go, because it's Valerian steel, isn't it?
Yeah, which they have.
He talked about dragonglass and what was the other one?
Dragonglass and
fire.
fire are the two things that can kill them.
But there's not very many Valerian steel swords left, is there? There's only about.
But
50 or
most
60.
of them were in that meeting. Jaime gave one to Brienne.
Mm-hmm.
There was one that Jaime is currently wielding, which was Joffrey's, both of which were forged from...
Eddard Stark's, wasn't it?
The Ned Stark's big bloody claymore.
They used to behead people, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was his execution sword.
Mm-hmm.
You had Longclaw, which Jon had, and I'm pretty certain that the only other Valyrian steel that is available actually is still in the Lannister hands, apart from that dagger that Arya has.
Sam's got one.
Sam's got dragonglass.
Oh, Sam. No, Sam nicked his father's.
Oh, he did. He nicked his
He
father's
nicked it.
Valyrian steel sword.
So Sam's got a Valerian steel sword.
But still, the majority of it's there. They don't mention it, especially because they haven't tried to kill any of the White Walker generals with anything but Valyrian steel this far.
Yeah.
Jon Snow has successfully killed 2 of them with Longclaw. Longclaw being neither dragonglass or fire, and forgets to mention it, and that's what's taken out the most powerful ones he's fought so far.
It's this thing again that I mentioned earlier of the episode feeling hamstrung by not being able to go anywhere with the plot. By the end, you can sum up from what we've talked about so far. Cersei said yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and settled on no, which she was pretty stuck on before. Jaime fucks off, which, okay, that was a thing, that happened, that is important storyline-wise. Tyrion and Cersei had a chat and she didn't kill him, which I guess counts for something. Daenerys is still a show-off. Jon Snow's still an idiot. The Hound and Brienne have that tiny chat, but there's not much more. The Hound on the Mountain don't do anything. There's not much to take away, other than they all had a little chin wag. It was like we were seeing the sort of the first meeting, and then they'll sign the contracts, on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Clear your schedule. I don't know. But the one thing that did happen, which was a relief to see and made me happy, was Littlefinger having his goddamn throat slit. And he thought something. Pure vanilla.
I was waiting for that ever since he put the dagger up to Ned Stark's neck. Ever since he did that, I was like, I hope you get your comeuppance. It's taken a while.
It's taken a
long time, but got there.
It was so beautifully built up to.
Yeah.
You have that entire scene proceeding where you feel that Arya is falling under Littlefinger's influence. Not Arya, Sansa, but to betray Arya, and you have the whole setup of bring my sister to the hall. Arya then just enters surrounded by armed guards, and the one line, "Are you sure you want to do this? Well then get on with it then." And the accusations, "You are accused of murder and treason. How do you plead, Peter Baelish?"
Yeah.
And everybody just went, "Oh, yay!"
It was kind of beautiful, especially when it came out of sort of nowhere, because you didn't need. This was the one thing in the episode where you didn't need much convincing on. Killing Littlefinger, thank God. Axel, your thoughts?
I like the part when he hadn't noticed his name being called. He was still smirking at the table, just whilst everyone was just looking at him. Brilliant.
Yeah. Anything more to add?
No, I'm glad he's gone. Although I did like his character. I like that he was always there as that sort of...
It does feel like we're running out of villains now. I do like my Game of Thrones villains. We all wanted Joffrey to die, but when he died, it was a bit sort of... I was really enjoying hating him.
It was the same for Ramsay as well, when Ramsay Bolton died.
Oh, yeah.
He was he took over the mantle from Joffrey, really. And then, when he died, you kind of yeah, he's dead, but who am I going to hate now?
Yeah, you're sort of like, aww. It is that thing of the enjoyment of hating him, but Littlefinger to be killed with that knife as well.
Was it the same knife that he used to? It was the same knife. That's what because I know there's 2 of them.
Well, yeah, and he lied about it in a previous episode, but it turns out no, he was. It was Littlefinger lying. Everyone acts surprised.
A side note, just from that, they very quickly come round to the idea that Bran, literally everything that comes out of Bran's mouth at the moment is gospel. There's very little, they're all like, he's a bit weird, but he's all right. There's very little skepticism around that.
I know.
But
I don't get why.
No, I'm a little bit confused on that as well.
Especially as so much of Game of Thrones in the past has been, is this real or isn't it? Let us chat about it. Let the old men chat about it for a while now today. Let us talk about it into great Northern All, and let us sit on the Iron Throne and discuss whether this is true or not. And then they're just like, yeah, Bran's this three-eyed raven thing.
I mean, he has sort of had a few moments where he's just been like, oh, I know things that I really, really shouldn't, which he reveals sometimes in the creepiest way when he talks to Sansa about a wedding night.
Yeah.
And then to Peter Baelish with his line of chaos is a ladder, which is one of his sort of lines from previous series where he says that he creates chaos in order to ascend. Chaos is a ladder as part of his ambitions in a conversation in King's Landing with Varys, which was a while ago. But apart from that, like, he's not really gone round and done a general, oh, by the way, everybody, I know this because this.
Yeah, and there hasn't been like a meeting where the Lady of the North or Jon Snow said, well, was Bran back by the time Jon Snow was...
No, because otherwise Bran would already... he got the letter while he was at Dragonstone and said, I thought my brother was dead.
And Sansa hasn't been afraid of calling meetings. Like, there's been quite a few Sansa meetings, so...
She's either on the wall, in her room, or in a meeting. That's like the three things she does these days.
It's a bit of an odd one. We'll very quickly chat about these next three, because I know we're going to want to talk about the very end of the episode in a lot more detail. So, quick one-sentence opinions on Sam finding out about Jon Snow's real history. John?
I find it slightly weird that he remembered specifically that line that was going on when he had bit of a fit being thrown about how useless he was.
When he very specifically wasn't paying attention.
But, though, that's one of the things about Sam, is that Sam's always paying attention. He just sort of seems to just pull information in. So it's not the weirdest thing for him. He just sort of remembers things that are going on in conversations. He did that while he was back on the wall. So I can sort of forgive that.
More than a sentence. Alex? Respect the host.
I just love Sam. He can't do anything wrong in my eyes.
No, he's wonderful.
He's just a wonderful man. I just love him. I can't say anything bad against him.
No, Axel. Alex, that was more than a sentence. Axel, you're good at this.
Before Sam walked into the room, it was kind of, the notion was we need to tell Jon something. Then he walked in and then was, yeah, we still just need to tell him something. It didn't really... The scene was just there for me. I enjoyed seeing the characters.
For me, it felt a little bit pointless. It kind of felt like, and I was very worried because it came right near the end of the episode. I was like, you're not relying on last year's twist, are you? You're not just spelling it out again. Which it felt like it was doing, especially with the flashback. Like, it felt a bit like, do you get it? This is Jon Snow's parents, okay? Fion's moment, being Dickless Works. Anything on that? It was a nice little scene, I thought.
Theon needed a win.
To see him win,
There's one character that, if anyone needed to pick me up, it was him, wasn't it? He's been through the works, hasn't he? Bless him. Although, like I was saying, if you picked a character on season 1 and 2, which character is not going to make it this far? He would have been at the top of my list. I'd have been like, every season that he survived, I was thinking, how have you survived?
He almost reeks of failure.
Yeah, I'm glad he won. Yeah, I'm a fan.
Okay. And your one-word reaction to, and I think you know what I'm going to be bringing up here, because Daenerys brought it up. Jon Snow and Daenerys and incest. What's your opinion? One word, John. Alex.
Wincest.
That's Supernatural, not Game of Thrones. Only some people are going to get that. I'm sorry if you do. Axel.
Bend the knee as one word.
Bend the knee.
Bend the knee. Bend the knee.
Bend the knee.
Bender's knee.
No, it's like one. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing that's been going around. Like, in season 1, everyone was like, when that came up, that was like a big thing back in season 1, incest. And everyone was like, ugh. But now loads of the fan base are like, yay.
Especially as it was spelled out as they were doing the deed. And the deed was shot in this very romantic fashion. It was yeah, yuck.
So,
yuck. We're moving on. We don't have much time.
No.
Very quick.
Kit Harington's ass.
It was like
Thank
two
you,
perfect
John.
peaches.
Thank you, John. I mean, I'm sorry, last week when it was after the battle and lying in bed and it was all scarred all over, they just did that proper porno shot of Jon Snow's torso. And my God, Kit Harington is a beautiful man. But that was gratuitous. That was. I just felt bad about my own body for a week after. I was like, Jesus Christ. And so finally, we get to the final part of the finale. They're on a wall and nothing happens. No, some White Walkers turn up. They're like, yo, we got a dragon. And the dragon's like, wah. And the wall's like, wah. And if you've seen it, you know what happens. They broke through the wall and then they march off into the sunset. I'm going to get this out of the way. I didn't like this ending at all. It felt undramatic. It felt still underwhelming in an episode that was marred, as I said before, of being a bit almost. And though it was kind of cool, it felt like it could have been... It felt like we were just watching the White Walkers march along casually, and the wall was just in the way and it's gone. Which shows off their power, but the wall has held the White Walkers back for goddamn ages. Like, it would have been... It didn't quite feel like a victory for them. Like, it should have felt like... I think some sort of dark, twisted victory. Like if you saw the White Walkers, who are never really that emotional, like properly raging with joy as they tear this down, that would have been freaking terrifying.
Even just some sort of unanimous scream of victory, just something to mark the occasion, rather than just, all right, boys, we're continuing marching. Heave-ho, tally-ho, what?
The wall has been there since season 1, and it's probably, even if you don't know that much of Game of Thrones, you probably know about the wall. Like,
I mean, Donald Trump certainly did.
Yeah, Axsle, your...
Yeah, I kind of agree with what you're saying, but it's because of the very ending of what the Night King had. I guess in the handbook of the wall, it's like our one weakness is fire. You know what I mean? So once that comes along, you kind of don't expect some sort of stand against it.
I mean, I wasn't expecting much of a stand against it. Like, the fact that they were just fleeing was fine. The dragon's something I didn't quite bring up. They've got a dragon. Alex, your quick bit before I talk about the dragon.
The thing is with me, I think it's that part's raised more questions about, like, how are they going to fight that? Just because I know Daenerys has got 2 dragons. But the thing is, the Night King is a rider of the dragon now, and they've shown they can kill the dragons with the spears, and he's got generals that could probably do that as well. So they can't just send their dragons in at them. So if they send the dragons in at them, you can kill them and bring them back to life and everything. So they've got to be. It's going to be very strange on what approach they're going to do to fight this, because can't go on a direct assault at them, because I don't think they'll come out on top.
Who was even left at the wall that we care about?
Tormund Giantsbane and
he's beautiful. He's so beautiful. Ginger.
Beric Dondarrion, the one-eyed man with a flaming sword.
The without banners.
2 beautiful badasses. Like, I'm glad neither of them died. But at the same time, they felt like they were only in the episode for you to go, oh, don't kill them for a second, and then they weren't dead, and you're like, cool. They serve no other purpose. John?
Well, I do have one question of following on of sending the dragons in. Do we even know if the dragons are going, like, fire even works against a dragon White Walker? Does that even work as a thing?
Well, would it work either way? I'm not sure, because we had this discussion, I can't remember, I think I said this with Axel and Alex, about a half expectation of the White Walker dragon breathing ice.
Yes, that's what I was expecting.
That would have been cooler.
Yeah.
That would have been cooler.
Pun intended.
Yeah. Like, just imagine that dragon comes out and freezes the wall. And then there's like a White Walker shriek and it shatters. That would have left chills down your spine. You'd have been changing your underwear, and you'd be like, when this is back, my days.
Better yet, as a side note, what if it just froze the wall, and then you just sort of see the other side of the wall where all the structures are? Because we've got that wonderful shot of the structures of the wall, and the dragon just bursts through it.
Oh, that would have been nuts.
Like, so it was trying to be almost too big. We kept getting these huge wide shots. And I was like, yes, the dragon's very impressive, but the screen's cluttered with all the people running off and all the zombies just stood there like, cool, and get it. And yeah, why wasn't it breathing ice? That would have also been really creepy. Just
Really creepy.
Yeah,
Silent.
imagine a trailer for the next season where you're just seeing like ice
Oh.
spreading over your favourite characters. Like,
Could you imagine a trailer for the next series where there's one of the other dragons in the air and ice just catches its wing and it just falls out of the sky? That would be amazing.
So it feels like a real missed trick.
Yeah.
It feels like, okay, last season we've got magicians, we've got dragons, we've got zombies, let's go bloody ape. And it's kind of like, it's more fire.
Mhm.
I get it wouldn't have made much biological sense, but magic.
I'm going to be honest,
Yeah.
the White Walkers don't make that much biological sense. It's fantasy. Play around with it.
The whole series doesn't make biological sense.
Hey.
I mean, some of it does, and it makes us feel a little bit ill.
Yeah.
So,
But then again, it's going back on before how they're going to fight White Walkers. Bran, he can go into animals, can't he? Can he go into White Walkers though? Could he go into a White Walker dragon?
No, as
Excellent.
far as I know, because the only encounters he's had with a White Walker in his entire mental fortitude is with one in the creation of the Night King, where the Night King touched him and forced him out of his state, and again where the White King, the Night King noticed the crows that he was possessing and scattered them, and again forced him out of his walking state. So I think whatever it is, the Night King is much more powerful than Bran is, and is able to just push him out of whatever he's doing. So I'd say no, you probably won't be able to do that.
So that's been pretty much the episode. From what we've said so far, we've loved this season and have a lot of problems with this episode, and I think I do overall. I think what were your thoughts? What's everyone's thoughts on that episode? And let's wrap up this episode.
I don't really think it's actually the episode's fault, really. It was just because we've known about loads of the stuff for quite a while, all the meetings, that Jon's a Targaryen, and they had to use this episode for all those characters to meet, because they hadn't met each other, they haven't explained the things to each other. We've all known about it, but I think that's why we're a bit frustrated, because all the stuff they were explaining and all the stuff they were doing, we've actually known about for quite a while. Yeah. That's what I feel why it was underwhelming.
There's also the side note that there were still surprisingly large factions of the internet and whatnot of the fan base that were still not convinced, because it hadn't been said out loud that these things were true. There were still people that were, but Jon's not actually what if he still is a Targaryen? And people were still speculating up until this very episode, despite all of the evidence put forward for it. So I suppose to wrap it up so that this stuff doesn't get in the way next series, I'd be glad that it got itself out of the way.
Cool. And Axel?
I agree completely with Jon. They had to get out of the way so we can move on for the next season.
Alrighty. My 2 cents on the episode is just I feel it could have done more, and it should have, just to be the great series finale before, because the next season finale is going to have to be the goodbye. And it's going to be sad, and it's not going to be able to be epic or cliffhangery, because if it is, that would feel like cheating. Like it'll be 8 years of Game of Thrones then. It's a series we've loved and has been celebrated. It has to go out on a good, well-crafted goodbye. No last-minute ball. So I feel this episode could have done that a bit more, and I feel it lacked some punches. It could have delivered more. Overall, the series was great. I am buzzing for next year. And one quick sentence, last thing before we go, I want you to sign off and tell me what you're looking forward to next year in reverse order. Axel, you first.
Sorry, what do I have to say again?
Oh my God damn it.
You did kind of complicate that question a little bit.
I need a wee, and I want to finish this episode. Well, no, you're all going to say more than a sentence, and I'm going to say it cross-legged. I hate you all. What are you looking forward to next season? And then say goodbye to the listeners who have had to put up with you for so long.
Right, what I'm looking forward to is Jon Snow on the other dragon with the dire wolf in the sidecar, just ready to shoot out any second.
Amazing. And sign off.
And this is Axel. Good night. Have a good day.
I'm looking forward to find out what is going to be the last battle, whether it's going to be between the White Walkers or between Cersei or between someone else. That's what I'm looking forward to finding out. And this has been Alex. Thank you for listening.
I'm going to leave John till last, as always, and just say I want to see the Hound versus a Mountain. I want to see that fight. I want to see him properly bloody down, tear up. I want it to be brutal. Let's see that final fight. This has been Flynn. You have been listening to the Procastinators podcast, TM Biscuits. You have also been watching Zachary Elliott Hatton on Star Wars Battlefront. And John?
I'm just looking forward to the body count. Have a good evening, everybody, and goodbye.